Shi Chuankong's eyes gleamed at the sight of the sword, and Han Li's gaze also lingered, but his focus remained on Fox 3, whose form was shrouded by layers of hemispherical light, creating an indistinct and ethereal appearance. As Han Li observed Fox 3, a sharp pain stabbed at his eyes, forcing him to rub his temples. Just then, a golden talisman shimmered into being between his fingers, a subtle yet undeniable power radiating from it. Han Li briefly examined the talisman, confusion clouding his expression as he sensed the overwhelming spiritual energy it contained, but couldn't recognize its true nature. Could it be a golden spirit-gathering sword talisman? Shi Chuankong gasped in surprise. Meanwhile, Fox 3 seemed immersed in a profound trance, oblivious to Shi Chuankong's remark. His injuries, though genuine, seemed to recede as his aura grew stronger, almost as if he were regaining his former strength. "What is this golden spirit-gathering sword talisman, fellow Taoist Shi?" Han Li inquired. "It is a rare and potent talisman, capable of enhancing an immortal sword's power for a brief time. The strength of the effect depends on the materials used. That particular one is a high-grade talisman, an invaluable treasure," Shi Chuankong explained. A golden rune appeared, etched into the silver longsword, which pulsed with energy before trembling violently. The sword's spiritual power surged, becoming 10 times more potent, elevating it to nearly the level of a 5th-grade immortal treasure. In that instant, dozens of towering projections of Fox 3 materialized, each holding an enlarged version of the silver sword. With synchronized steps, the projections mirrored Fox 3's movements. Liu Qi's eyes gleamed in interest. With a mighty roar, Fox 3 and his projections swung their swords down in unison, striking the azure chain. The clash resounded with a thunderous noise, sword light erupting and flooding the surroundings. Ferocious winds blasted in all directions as the swords collided with the chain, sending the very air vibrating with power. "Amazing sword chi!" Shi Chuankong exclaimed, raising his hand to shield himself. Weeping Soul, still weakened by her injuries, could only watch from afar. Han Li stepped back slightly, a frown changing his face. Despite the immense power behind Fox 3's strike, the azure chain stood unmoved. Suddenly, a deep rumble emanated from the azure, baleful cleansing pond, and an azure bolt of lightning shot out, racing along the chain to strike Fox 3. Upon impact, the sword's light shattered into countless fragments, and an enormous lightning sphere enveloped Fox 3, sending arcs of electricity coursing through his body. He writhed in agony, howling as the lightning ravaged him. The air thickened with the scent of charred flesh, the power of the lightning far surpassing even the tribulation Han Li had endured to reach the true Immortal Realm. Alarm flickered in Shi Chuankong's eyes, and he moved to assist, but was uncertain how to help. Weeping Soul, brow furrowed, turned her gaze to Han Li, who observed Liu Qi closely. Liu Qi remained crouched, his body absorbing the lightning without any visible discomfort, his eyes narrow and indifferent to Fox 3's plight. He then raised one of his colossal tails, sweeping it through the air to ensnare the azure chain. With a violent surge of energy, he lifted the chain high before bringing it crashing down, unleashing a ball of black light from his tail. The collision with the lightning sphere resulted in a cataclysmic explosion, arcs of lightning and shards of black light tearing through the air in a maelstrom of destruction. Han Li and the others quickly retreated, conjuring protective spiritual light. Liu Qi raised another tail, shielding them from the oncoming shockwave, until the storm of energy finally subsided. After the chaos calmed, Liu Qi lowered his tail, bringing Fox 3 to them. The fox's robes were torn, his body scorched, though his injuries were not as severe as they appeared. In contrast, the silver sword in his hand was badly damaged, its brilliance dimmed. "Thank you for saving me, esteemed patriarch. I misjudged my strength," Fox 3 said humbly, bowing deeply. "You performed admirably for a high zenith cultivator," Liu Qi responded. "But your hastiness and overconfidence were your downfall. That talisman allowed you to elevate your 6th-grade immortal sword to a faux 5th grade. But even with a true 4th-grade immortal treasure, you could not have severed this chain." Han Li's brows furrowed at the revelation. If Liu Qi knew beforehand that Fox 3's strike would fail, why had he not intervened? Even a 4th-grade immortal treasure couldn't sever this chain, Fox 3 asked in disbelief. "Indeed," The 4 chains in these baleful cleansing ponds were crafted by the infernal tribe with materials gathered from both the Grey and Immortal Realms. They are fortified with runes to fuse with the pond itself, allowing them to trap me for millennia, Liu Qi explained. If even a 4th-grade immortal treasure is useless, then what can we do? Shi Chuankong mused. At your current level, only an immortal treasure of 3rd grade or above could sever these chains, Liu Qi said, his gaze subtly drifting to Han Li. Fox 3's face fell. 3rd-grade immortal treasures are rare even in the Immortal Realm. The average Great Encompassment cultivator would not possess one. Where are we to find such a treasure in the Grey Realm? Shi Chuankong hesitated, a flicker of conflict passing through his expression. His Virata loot was a 3rd-grade immortal treasure, but it was crucial to his race, so he said nothing. Liu Qi's gaze turned back to Han Li. If you're seeking a 3rd-grade immortal treasure, you need look no further than your own friend here. Would you be willing to lend me your aid? Han Li, puzzled, wondered if Liu Qi referred to the golden plate from the True Mantra sect, the heavenly fox blood-form saber, or his heaven-controlling vial, 3 treasures he had yet to fully comprehend. Before Han Li could speak, Fox 3's eyes gleamed with hope. It must be your saber, Brother Li. Please, lend us your power. The heavenly fox race will reward you greatly. Han Li sighed inwardly, reaching out with his spiritual sense to contact Shi Qinghao, but received no response. Reluctantly, he summoned the heavenly fox blood-form saber. Liu Qi's eyes brightened at the sight of the saber. That is the treasure, I mean. My apologies, Senior, but based on Fox 3's previous attempt, I don't think even with this saber, we stand a chance of severing the chain, Han Li said, his tone apologetic. Of course, you cannot sever the chain with your own strength, Liu Qi acknowledged, but perhaps there is an external power you can call upon. The moment was heavy with tension as Liu Qi's voice echoed across the chamber. A golden immortal can wield a 3rd-grade immortal treasure, but their spiritual power is insufficient to unleash its full might. To overcome this, we must combine our strength, he proclaimed, his tone resonating with authority. Han Li hesitated, his brow furrowed in thought. Fox 3, sensing the delay, urged, Brother Li, we have no choice now. The infernal tribe is already our enemy. If we don't act, we're doomed. Only by saving Patriarch Liu Qi can we hope for survival. Liu Qi's voice, calm but edged with truth, asked, You came here for the baleful cleansing ponds, correct? But are you aware of the peril they pose? His words held a gravity that silenced the group. Fox 3, ever the pragmatist, implored, Patriarch, please enlighten us. Consider the power of the azure lightning chain you witnessed earlier, Liu Qi continued. That was but a fraction of the true power. The ponds themselves are far more dangerous. Without preparation, you'll perish before the cleansing process begins. Han Li, now deeply wary, realized the Patriarch had allowed Fox 3's rash act to display the pond's dangers, perhaps as a warning to them all. Does that mean our journey here was for naught? Han Li's voice carried a note of feigned despair. Liu Qi's smile was tinged with mystery. Fear not, for I have spent long years studying these ponds. If I assist you, you may survive the cleansing, but in return, you must help me sever the chains. His proposition hung in the air. Han Li, calculating, nodded. Once cleansed, we'll regain our full power, including the Heavenly Fox blood-form saber. With that, severing the chain will be within reach. Fox 3, his determination unshaken, declared, Let's not delay. We must act now. Patience, Han Li advised. Take a moment to prepare. A short rest will suffice. Though Fox 3 balked at the delay, he ultimately acquiesced, and they settled down to meditate, each taking a medicinal pill. Weeping Soul, unaffected by baleful qi, rested quietly, contemplating her next steps with Yin Chengquan. 2 hours passed swiftly. Fox 3 rose first, followed by Han Li and Shi Chuankong. Liu Qi, lying upon a wooden cross, spoke softly. The azure pond is the least dangerous. It will suffice for your cleansing. The group nodded, and though Weeping Soul's gaze lingered with worry on Han Li, they approached the pond, each taking a separate corner, gazing into the ominous azure liquid. Han Li, preparing to step into the water, suddenly paused, his gaze turning to a glimmering silver door he conjured with a flick of his sleeve. The portal led to the Flower Branch domain, where Immortal Lord Hot Flame had regained his consciousness. Fellow Taoist, you're awake? Han Li called. Hot Flame, weak but lucid, voiced his request with urgency. This domain has allowed me some clarity. I need to pass on my teachings and, please, end my suffering. My body is too corrupted by baleful qi. Han Li, unwilling to give up hope, suggested, the baleful cleansing pond may cure you. Are you willing to try? Hot Flame's response was swift, desperation in his voice. I have nothing left to lose. Please, I will try. With a nod, Han Li signaled Shi Chuangkong and Fox 3, who quickly lifted the restrictions on Hot Flame's body. As the weakened Immortal Lord stumbled out, Han Li turned to Weeping Soul, asking if she could remove the Infernal Tribe's restrictions. I can, but the baleful qi may overwhelm him. She cautioned. Hot Flame, his voice strained but determined, reassured them. If I lose control, cast me into the pond. Reluctantly, Han Li agreed, and Weeping Soul began her work. At first, Hot Flame seemed unchanged, but soon his body contorted with agony as the baleful qi surged within him. His transformation was horrifying. His body seemed to stretch unnaturally, the baleful qi clouding his vision as his pupils nearly turned entirely gray. Despite his struggle, Hot Flame pushed forward, limping toward the pond. Without a moment's hesitation, he leapt into the water. The pond reacted violently, its surface churning as violent arcs of azure lightning surged toward the Immortal Lord. Liu Qi, feigning concern, but secretly eager to witness Hot Flame's demise, wrapped his tail around the azure chain and pulled, diverting most of the deadly lightning toward himself. In an instant, Liu Qi unleashed a green orb that expanded into a barrier, protecting Hot Flame from the brunt of the lightning. Yet, even with this diversion, the lightning within the baleful cleansing pond still threatened to consume him entirely. Inside the violent lightning pond, Immortal Lord Hot Flame's face contorted in agony as he let out a soul-piercing scream. Han Li and his companions turned to see torrents of azure lightning descending upon him from all directions, striking him mercilessly. His body crackled with the intense energy, resembling a spiny azure porcupine, his robes torn to tatters and his skin marred with deep cracks, charred black. All his immortal acupoints flared open uncontrollably, and arcs of lightning crawled through, stirring the baleful qi within. The bone-rinsing golden lightning, however, had no mercy on the baleful qi. It surged into his acupoints, overwhelming the dark energy, pushing it out with relentless force. Immortal Lord Hot Flame's body smoked like an incense burner, the contrast of the swirling lightning and rising black fumes creating a surreal scene. Seeing this, Han Li's heart stirred with both pity and resolve. Turning to Shi Chuangkong and Fox 3, he said, Time is short. We must act now. Before they could move, blood-curdling roar erupted from Immortal Lord Hot Flame. His head tilted back in an agonized howl, his body engulfed by black baleful qi. But suddenly, his body combusted in a furious blaze, his legs turning to ash in an instant as his upper half collapsed into the lightning pond. Han Li dashed forward, intent on saving him, his reversal true axis activated to carry him swiftly to the baleful cleansing pond. No need, came Liu Qi's indifferent voice. His body is already beyond saving, and with the baleful qi cleansed, the lightning will finish him. Ignoring the warning, Han Li plunged his arms into the pond, but the lightning struck with terrifying force, reducing his sleeves to tatters. A violent surge of energy shot into his body, causing his baleful qi to stir uncontrollably. With a growl, he fought to suppress the surge using his spirit refinement technique, golden scales appearing on his arms, yet it was too late. Immortal Lord Hot Flame was consumed entirely by the lightning, his body reduced to ash. Han Li reached desperately for the nascent soul, but it too disintegrated as lightning struck. In the blink of an eye, the soul shattered, leaving only a faint wisp behind. Holding the fragile fragment in his hand, Han Li sighed. I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Hot Flame. The faint soul fragment, flickering like a candle flame, whispered through a fragile spiritual connection, Do not blame yourself, fellow Taoist. This was my fate. I can no longer maintain this soul, Han Li murmured. If you have any final words, speak now. I have no regrets, the fragment replied. I understand the cause of the fall of the true mantra sect. I no longer seek attachments. A pity that I cannot return to Leisure Valley. Han Li offered a quiet response. The Tao's ways are mysterious. Who knows what may yet happen? The fragment continued faintly. I intended to leave my treasure to you, but the lightning has taken everything. This is all I have left." As the soul's presence faded, it left a single crimson glimmer, which drifted into Hanli's glabella. Within his mind, a passage of fiery text emerged, the time-severing flowing fire tome, a sacred cultivation art of the flowing fire palace. The moment passed swiftly, and Hanli stood there in stunned silence, the loss of Immortal Lord Hot Flame heavy in his heart. Fox 3 and Shi Chuankong said nothing as they watched Hanli, but after a pause, Hanli's focus returned. He looked at the lightning pool with renewed resolve. "Let's go," he said. Though hesitant, Shi Chuankong followed as Hanli sped to the edge of the pond. Liu Qi's azure chain danced in the air, diverting much of the lightning, making the path ahead more bearable. Hanli stepped into the pool, feeling a sudden surge of numbing pain, followed by scorching heat, his skin nearly burning under the relentless assault of lightning. Despite the pain, he suppressed a cry and gritted his teeth as he allowed more of the lightning to seep into his body. He knew only through suffering could he cleanse his acupoints of the baleful qi. In mere moments, his skin flushed bright red, veins bulging beneath the surface, yet his body held strong, unbroken. Spears of lightning pierced him, burrowing deep into his immortal acupoints, expelling the baleful qi, though at a slower rate than Immortal Lord Hot Flame's destructive collapse. Weeping Soul, standing nearby, looked on with concern, but Liu Qi reassured. "There's no need to worry. The slower expulsion of baleful qi is a good sign. He still controls it." On the other side of the pond, Fox 3 gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face, his body writhing in agony as the baleful qi fought to escape. Meanwhile, Shi Chuankong's struggles were more severe. His body was twisting under the pressure, black scales creeping across his skin as his devilish nature struggled to break free. The battle for their survival was far from over. In stark contrast to Fox 3, Shi Chuankong's gaze remained wide, his eyes locked onto Hanli across the baleful cleansing pond. The man's skin was a blazing crimson, and his eyes were aflame with an unnatural glow. White steam poured from his body, mingling with swirling black baleful qi, as though his very flesh were being seared alive. The thunderous claps of azure lightning struck with brutal intensity from every direction, a fury unmatched even by his companions. Though all three had entered the pond together, Hanli's body harbored the most baleful qi, and thus he bore the brunt of the lightning's wrath. Lightning raged fiercely around him, far greater than what the others endured. Within, the sight was just as astonishing, as each of his acupoints became a battlefield, under siege by azure lightning. His consciousness reeled from violent gusts of disorientation, and without a mind of unmatched strength, his soul would have long since shattered under the assault. Liu Qi's eyes flickered with subtle approval, recognizing Hanli's formidable resolve, but suddenly Hanli convulsed violently, unleashing a fit of coughs. A torrent of baleful qi surged from his body, bursting forth like a dam shattered by a raging flood. As the qi flowed unchecked, his aura grew murky, and his pupils bled a deep crimson, threatening to consume his very sight. "Master!" cried Weeping Soul, a note of panic in her voice. Such misfortune! To think his baleful decay would resurface now. Liu Qi muttered, his brow furrowed in concern. A deep growl rumbled from Hanli's chest as his body spasmed, his joints cracking like dry wood. Golden light flickered about him as scales formed and faded upon his skin in rhythmic cycles. "The baleful qi threatens to overtake him," Liu Qi said, grim-faced. "If he succumbs to its will, he'll be beyond redemption." Weeping Soul's expression darkened, and after a long moment of hesitation, she revealed a demonic eye from within her brow, its blood-red hue gleaming with power. Liu Qi's voice was cold, forbidding her intervention. "Do not interfere. This process is akin to transcendence through tribulation. External meddling will only bring calamity. The lightning will turn upon you, and even if your master survives, he'll be reduced to nothing but a mindless husk." Weeping Soul, torn, reluctantly closed her eye and sat back down, her gaze never leaving Hanli. "He cannot fail me now," she thought, her heart heavy with desperation. A rumbling sound echoed from the distance, growing louder with each passing moment. Liu Qi's eyes narrowed. "Is the infernal tribe sending reinforcements, or has my old foe been freed?" He mused, concern growing in his heart. With a swift motion, Liu Qi unleashed a burst of black light, striking the green bead at his side. The bead trembled with power. the black light swelling and drawing even more lightning from the pond, easing the pressure on the trio. Fox 3 found relief, his pain subsiding, and his aura becoming more stable. Shi Chuankong, though better, still bore his own struggles. Han Li, however, was far from steady. His body and mind were on the brink of collapse. With a guttural roar, light of many hues burst from his body, forming projections of powerful true spirits, giant mountain ape, Kunpeng, rainbow phoenix, each embodying the primal strength within him. Liu Qi's expression grew pensive. The bloodlines within Han Li were diverse and powerful, but they were also a source of potential ruin. His mind, a battlefield, trembled under the assault of waves crashing against the white mountain of his Imperial Peak Spirit Restriction Talisman. The mountain strained to calm him, but the baleful Qi overwhelmed its soothing light. As more true spirit projections manifested, his muscles swelled with primal might. The giant mountain ape's arms burst forth. The Xuanwu turtle's shell grew over his chest, and rainbow phoenix feathers erupted from his back. Even Liu Qi, with his vast experience, was beginning to doubt Han Li's survival. His body and mind teetered on the edge of annihilation, and Liu Qi feared that a single misstep would lead to his destruction. But then, within the heart of Han Li's turmoil, a new surge of energy radiated from deep within. The golden nascent soul within his consciousness sat cross-legged, chanting the mantra for the 5th level of the spirit refinement technique. At first, faint and slow, the chant grew steadily louder, and the energy within Han Li surged. His mind began to steady, the baleful Qi retreating as his crimson eyes returned to clarity. Weary but triumphant, Han Li withdrew his spirit projections and exhaled slowly, his body sagging with exhaustion. He had quelled his baleful decay once more. Liu Qi's expression was one of surprise, his eyes widening as he took in the impossible feat before him. The passage of time passed, and soon enough, the trio of Han Li began to grow familiar with the intense agony brought on by the azure lightning. Yet they sensed a shift, as the baleful Qi spilling from their acupoints had thinned and its expulsion slowed. While Fox 3 and Shi Chuankong found some relief, Han Li felt no joy. This was no sign of the baleful Qi's retreat, but rather an indication that the azure lightning's potency had waned. Suddenly, Liu Qi spoke. Enough. Every lightning pond has its limit, and this one has already offered all it can. Any further would only bring more harm with little benefit. Han Li's brows knitted as he responded. Didn't you promise that the azure lightning would be sufficient to cleanse us fully? Liu Qi sneered. How could I know that golden immortals like you two carried so much baleful Qi within you? Your paths have surely been paved with bloodshed. Acknowledging his greater burden of baleful Qi, Han Li readied himself to leave the pond, only for the azure lightning to latch onto him. Dragging him back, Fox 3 and Shi Chuankong met the same resistance. The baleful Qi within them was not yet eradicated, and the pond's lightning would not release them until it was. Fox 3, frailer than the others, suffered the worst injuries, but after struggling, he finally escaped. Despite his scorched and mutilated body, a smile of elation spread across his face. He consumed a high zenith pill, and his injuries healed at a miraculous speed. Shi Chuankong too took a pill, his body enveloped in a cloud of black mist as his wounds closed. Han Li, though battered with his robes in tatters, simply nodded to Weeping Soul when asked about his condition. He didn't immediately take any pills, instead focusing inwardly to examine his spirit refinement technique. He had broken through his previous limits, nearing mastery of the 5th level. As the trio meditated, Liu Qi's voice pierced their concentration. We have little time. Though Yin Chengquan may be occupied with the 3-region conference, others may come. If that happens, your cleansing will be near impossible. Han Li nodded in acknowledgement. We don't have much time left, Liu Qi continued. Lu San is cleansed, but your baleful Qi is deeper, and only the purple lightning pond can cleanse it fully. That will take time, so we must act swiftly. Han Li, though still burdened, nodded again. I will sever one chain as a gesture of good faith, as agreed. Liu Qi, pleased with Han Li's response, glanced at the others. All of you must inject your power into the saber. Do not hold back. A failure could result in a severe backlash. Fox 3 and Shi Chuankong voiced their confidence, and Han Li turned to Weeping Soul with a nod before gripping the heavenly fox bloodform saber. He attempted to reach out to Shi Qingho for aid, but no response came, as if the other had slipped into slumber. Han Li urged again, but to no avail. He then set his focus fully on the task, injecting his spiritual power into the saber. The blade glowed with intense crimson light, and saber projections began to form, growing in number and strength. As Han Li and his companions continued their efforts, a strange sensation coursed through him, as if his very blood were being roused by the saber's aura. "The aura from this saber is unique," Liu Qi observed. "It stimulates your blood, enhancing your strength. Do not be distracted." With a grunt, Han Li stepped forward, swinging the saber down with all his might. The azure chain shuddered under the onslaught of the saber's power, the runes upon it glowing brightly. A storm of azure lightning erupted toward Liu Qi, but was halted by the saber's projections. "Sever it!" Liu Qi bellowed. The trio pushed forth their energies, and with their combined might, the saber's crimson glow intensified, its projections growing heavier with each passing moment. The weight of their combined spiritual power began to overwhelm them, threatening to drain them completely. But in that moment, the heads of the foxes on the saber lit up, and a massive crimson fox projection emerged, fusing with the saber's power, sending it surging forward. With a mighty crash, the chain was severed. The azure lightning receded as the chain fell to the ground. Fox 3's jubilant shout echoed in the chamber, but Han Li remained focused, scrutinizing the saber, wondering why Shi Qingho had aided them in that final moment. Shi Chuankong also studied the saber, his expression wary after the overwhelming strain. "Are you well, master?" Weeping Soul asked. "Just fine," Han Li replied, stowing the saber. Liu Qi, his face gleaming with satisfaction, looked toward the shattered chain and laughed triumphantly. "Thank you all. Rest and replenish your strength, then continue with your cleansing," he commanded, his laughter echoing in the hall.